Hello. Happy Thursday, everybody. I just want to make sure my connections. I was having some issues, and where do I have my channels? Settings. Just want to make sure this is going where I want it to go. So today I would like to talk about clarity, and I apologize. I got a new laptop, which is super wonderful. Obviously, laptop upgrades are always amazing, but I will say my old laptop had a light right beside the camera to always light me up, and this one does not, which is very apparent right now. So I do apologize for light on one side, dark on the other. I'm kind of pulling a little bit of a two-face right now. I will invest in one of those little ring lights. But yeah, so I do apologize. This is new, but is what it is. So we're gonna roll with it. So yeah, today I want to talk about just always getting clarity, and I've talked about this before. The responding versus reacting, not assuming a particular story, really always getting clarification. Now, I know you guys probably know this, but it always needs to be said pretty much all the time. Communication is key. Nobody likes hearing this. I personally hate hearing it. I still struggle with my communication. I've come a long, long way, but even I still have to work on it, and I still have a bit of a way to go. So I feel like this is one of those things for a lot of us, we will always have to be vigilant to be working on, especially if you're, born in the 80s, born in the 90s. We were raised to just basically not really talk, not really communicate. We don't talk about our feelings. We just kind of push through everything. That's the era of men don't cry. And even as a female, you were gauged. It was this weird idea of you were kind of gauged on your toughness as a female. Like if you were one of those women who cried a lot, then you were just this willowy little, oh, she just cries all the time. Just let her be and do her thing. Like you weren't really taken as seriously, right? So there's a lot of old assumptions and what's the word I'm looking for? Stereotypes and stuff from that era of, when we were raised. So for us, not having these skills as a child, because of course we always learn everything easier and better as kids, right? So having to learn this as an adult is way more difficult. So just remember, commend yourself wherever you are in your communication journey. You are doing great. And just to always stay vigilant, to always try and do a little bit better and not fall backwards. Because remember, it's very easy to fall back into old habits, old patterns, right? So just want to be aware of that. So I will share a little story that happened. And it makes me laugh every time. So way back, okay, I'll start with, I first became very aware of like male brain versus female brain, how we really do speak two different languages. That book, like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, is basically based on this sort of principle of, we just think about things very differently. And even words have different meanings depending on, again, it's that male versus female. It can be like how you're raised. Maybe there's a bit of a cultural thing involved, like certain areas associate maybe certain words a little differently than other areas or counties or communities, right? So just taking into all these different things and remembering two people can say the exact same words, but actually be saying and meaning something completely different from one another. That is why it's so important to never assume and to always get that clarity. And I will say this goes for 100% for sure with your family, with your partner, your spouse, whoever you live with. Super, super, super important. Obviously, This will avoid like 90% of all fights are just miscommunications and not getting clarification on things. It is assuming wrongly and starting a fight. That the majority of arguments are miscommunications. So think about your home life with your partner, even friends, family members, how many arguments you have, and think about 90% of those gone, how different your relationship would be, how much more peaceful and relaxed your home life would be. Like, this is a huge, huge deal, right? So, when my boyfriend and I first, oh my goodness, I want to say it was probably about 10 years ago already, we replaced our floors in our old house and we replaced them ourselves. So our house was just over 1,700 square foot bungalow. And we replaced everything but the bathrooms, the entire floor. Bedrooms, hallway, living room, kitchen, dining room, all of it we swapped out to hardwood. And we did all of it ourselves. And I had one of my clients at the time laugh, and he's like, all right, well, you're either going to solidify your relationship or you're going to get divorced. And I was like, okay, like, what are you talking about? And he said renovations are like one of the number one causes for people to break up because they can't communicate properly. And renovations, if you've ever renovated something, it's a ton of stress, especially like a floor. You're literally emptying out an entire room. I will paint you a little picture, guys. So the wood we got, you have to acclimatize hardwood to your house. So you have to take all of this beautiful wood that you have and pile it in places in your house and let it sit for, I can't remember, 7 days or something. It was a pretty reasonable period of time. Like, it was a week or 2 weeks. It had to sit and acclimatize to the environment. Now, if you guys like, these are 6 foot boards. We're doing an entire, basically 1,700 square feet. This is a ton of wood. So we had to clear out. We had a pile in the living room, 6 foot by 6 foot. We had to clear out and make a pile in the dining room, 6 foot by 6 foot. And we had one more pile. We must have had it in the spare room, 6 foot by 6 foot. Like, because you can't pile it all in one place because that's way too heavy. The joists aren't gonna handle that. Like, you need reinforcement. So we just, like, already you're living in just this clustered house of like, oh my God, like, okay. And then with these piles that you can't really move easily, you have to clear out a whole bedroom, rip out all the carpet and everything, get it all done, and then insert floor. And so if you don't get that done all in one day, not only do you have these piles of wood all over your house, you've got all the furniture piled somewhere all over your house. Like, so you kind of get the picture. This is, they say clutter causes anxiety. Well, this is like next level clutter. So that in itself, I was like starting to I'm like, okay, I see where people are saying like this is a very stressful situation. Well, we also ran into something where my boyfriend would literally say something, or sorry, I would say something to him, like an idea of how to do something or how to make a cut or how do we want to work around whatever it might be, right? And he would say no. And then he would actually say the same thing back to me, but using different words. And I would say, that's literally what I just said. And he's like, no, you didn't. You said this. And I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing. He's like, no, it's not. So that was my first realization that we really have different ways of thinking of things, and different words to different people can have significantly different meaning. So yeah, we are literally saying the exact same thing, but he was interpreting my words differently. It was eye-opening for sure. So we had this just recently again, and this is why you always want to make sure to stay vigilant, and you always want to have this awareness. It's not just like, oh, I get it. We can misinterpret things and we can have different meanings for words. Great. And then you never think about it again, and you just like plug it away somewhere and then you forget about it. well, you're going to go back into the trap, right? This is something you need to remember and keep that awareness about, because you don't use it, you lose it, right? So if you don't keep that awareness of it, you're not going to remember it. So thankfully, we survived the renovation. It was amazing. And we definitely learned some valuable lessons of always get clarity, because you're probably misinterpreting and you're probably talking about the same thing. And I will say, we also have had this where my brother and I are literally fighting. You know, you get around Christmas, we're playing games. I could tell you that scenario, but just know it's generally tense when we play games with my family. I'll just leave it at that. So my brother and I are like literally fighting and practically yelling. And finally, my boyfriend's like, you guys are literally arguing about the same thing. And I'm like, no, we're not. And then once he broke it down, again, we got clarification. We literally were. We were arguing on the same side for the same thing, and we didn't even realize it, because words mean something different to many different people. Right? So again, these are like, that was an argument, could have just avoided if I would have just got clarity. So the other day, this happened 2 days ago, I believe, might have been yesterday. Anyway, the last day or two, and boyfriend and I are talking about mindset. And he says that once you learn a mindset, that you don't have to work on it anymore. And I disagreed. I said, well, I think it's something you always have to work on. As I just explained, like, you should always be vigilant. You should always, have that awareness, check in, make sure you're not sliding back into old habits type thing. And so we were discussing, but it could have been almost going towards that argument era. And I was starting to get a bit frustrated, because I'm like, I feel like he's not understanding me. Generally, we're pretty like-minded on stuff like this. So I'm like, I just don't feel like he's understanding what I'm saying. And so I take a minute before I actually give in, because I could have reacted, allowed the frustration to take over, got angry, exploded. Like, old me overwhelmed me, where, our natural reaction is just to get angry, shut down, and go be silent somewhere else. Old me would have just snapped and been like, oh my God, you don't understand what I'm saying. I would have freaked out, and I would have been mad at him, and I would have just not talked to him probably for the rest of the day. But I took that minute, I took a breath, and then I said, okay, what does working on mean to you in this context? And he responded with, well, when you're working on it, you're learning it, you're starting to implement it, like you're creating that new habit where you're not proficient. You don't quite understand the mindset. You don't have it. It's not natural to you yet. You're really working on building up that habit, right? That's his idea of working on it. And I said, okay, well, but you always have to maintain it. Like, you can't just, okay, I'm proficient at it, it'll just be there forever, and just forget about it, right? Because again, you don't use it, you lose it. Again, life dog piles on you or something. We can slip back into old habits if we're not, having that bit of awareness, whether it's like a weekly check-in, a daily check-in, like whatever you need, right? And then he said, maintaining, checking in, having that awareness, he doesn't classify as working on. Working on is building up that new habit, like when it's in the beginning. Maintaining for him is something else. He does not, maintenance is not included in his working on definition. And I'm like, okay. So again, we actually did agree. We were completely on the same page, but we could have had an argument without that clarification, right? So I hope you're like understanding just exactly how important this is, because again, it's like, I don't want to say meaningless, because I feel like almost all conversations have some sort of point to them, like nothing's meaningless, but we'll say this simple, non-important, little random conversation could have, especially if I were still overwhelmed and chosen to react instead of responding, could have ruined my day, caused this big fight between us, caused all this, blah, right? If I let it. All from not getting simple clarification. Like, isn't that the silliest thing in the world? But that's how much it impacts us. So just think about your relationships. Again, if you're still fighting to really get that stress under control, if you still have anxiety, we're already this emotional turmoil. When we have stress, we have anxiety, we have overwhelm. We're just bubbling with all this emotional chaos inside us all the time, right? Because we're always frustrated because we never have enough time. So we're always slightly irritable and we're quick to react, quick to anger, and we're just on edge. It's like we're always like our nerves are just firing all the time. And especially then you add the anxiety in there. So you have all that worry, you have that fear, and all of a sudden your brain's all the what ifs and everything. And I know the men out there, if you've ever watched Harry Potter, you're just like, what is wrong with you? Like, that's impossible to have all that going on. But when you're overwhelmed, high stress, high anxiety, that is your everyday. And then oh, why did I blow up? Why did I get so mad? Oh, I shouldn't have exploded. Well, because you're all this all the time, right? So it's like kind of a wonder we don't explode all the time, right? So that's why you have to just think about where you are in that grand scheme. Are you still fighting the stress? Are you still fighting the anxiety? Are you still feeling that turmoil of emotions, just always the poles of everything in every direction? You have to give yourself grace and be like, okay, I understand I'm dealing with a lot, but this one little thing could help. And this is the beauty of it, guys. It's in the middle of all that turmoil, all that stress, just really having the will. Someone's getting on your nerves, you don't want to explode, and then you think, okay, do I have all the information? Do I have all of their definitions? Because again, you wouldn't think working on would have that many definitions to it, that many different meanings. But here we are. It did. It had a completely different meaning I wouldn't have thought of. So take a breath. And then what can you get clarification from this person who's irritating you that maybe we could resolve this whole thing into a big ball of nothingness, right? And it's just really having that will to get that clarity. And just think, again, 90% of all arguments and irritations are misunderstandings. So think about you resolve one potential argument, your day is that much calmer, that much more peaceful. You can be proud of yourself, give yourself that little pat on the back, that little celebration of like, oh, I did this. Like, I got clarification. I avoided all this nonsense. Like, go me, which elevates and adds to your happy mood, your overall, which decreases the stress, like, right? And then think about if you did that 2 or 3 times throughout the day, because the better we get at it, the more we think to get the clarity, the more we're going to get the clarity. And think if even one argument a day wasn't there for you, one irritation in a day wasn't there for you. Think about how much better by the end of the week, how much better of a shape you would be in mentally and emotionally. And then think about 2 or 3 irritations gone, right? And this is one of those things when we start pulling in and we start doing these little simple things, eventually it starts snowballing and it all compounds and it all starts feeding off each other in this beautiful positive feedback loop, right? This is why, like, everything I do is very, very simple. That doesn't mean it's easy. It's not easy when you're stressed and you're overwhelmed. Your anxiety's going, you have 10,000 things in your head, and you're thinking, like, I don't have time for this. It's not easy to take a breath and be like, all right, Steve, what exactly are you talking about? I need some clarification. I need to know exactly what you mean by this statement. That's not an easy thing to do, but it is simple. Clarification. Very, very simple. So I just want to reiterate, like everything, all these things I talk about, all these tools, all these little things, it's all to simplify your life. As that person, like having been just anxiety 24/7, like never sleeping, up at 4 a.m., up at midnight, never having gotten to sleep yet, like having dealt with all of these things, is there anything more beautiful than thinking of just getting rid of the chaos and just having a nice, simple life in the sense of I get up, I do my morning routine, I go to work, I do my job, I come home, I have supper, I hang out with my family, we go out on weekends. Chores are like that is a beautiful life to think about, like just having a nice, simple life. So that's what I strive for everyone to get, just simplifying everything. And especially as women, we overcomplicate everything. It's something in our nature. We just tend to overcomplicate everything. So that is my job, to help you simplify it again. Cut the noise out, get rid of all the garbage we've stuffed in there, get rid of those 4,000 what ifs, simplify everything. All right, what's really important? And what are we dealing with here, right? And one of the easiest ways is clarification. Just ask a simple question. What do you mean by that? What exactly are you talking about? Like, you know, I don't want to say dumb it down for me, because that's not the right. You don't ever want to say that. It's almost antagonistic, but clarify the meaning of this word here. Like, what do you mean by working on in this context of mindset? That was it. Problem solved. We're good. We're on the same page. Go team, right? So this goes for everything. Again, you have your family, you have co-workers, employees, employers, clients, whoever it is. You're out at the supermarket and you're chatting with someone. I don't know, you struck up, you're at Costco and you're standing in line for 40 minutes. Like, you struck up a conversation instead of having, okay, I'll say, let's say you're talking to someone in the Costco aisle, right? It's easy to just be like, I don't know you, I don't have to listen to you, whatever. But that's anger. Do you see how you've left yourself in anger? You've probably left them in anger. But most importantly, you have left yourself sitting in frustration and anger. Ugh, whatever, I don't even know this person, I have to deal with them. Now you're trying to like shake off that anger. You're trying to do something with it. You're trying to get rid of it, but it's unresolved. So even though you don't know them, you don't owe them anything, you could just walk away. But if you're going to be angry about it, you're allowing all that anger to fester in you and be in you and take up that space and diminish your day. Whether you take that for a couple hours or just a couple minutes, it's unnecessary, right? So let's start getting in that habit of being like, okay, sir, like exactly what, let's get clarification. You're standing in the lineup. You can stand in the lineup for 10 more minutes being angry, or you can spend 2 minutes getting clarification and maybe you're laughing. And maybe the next 10 minutes you have even better conversation. Like, who knows? But why would you put all that anger and then leave it in you when it's so much simpler to get clarification and lift the angry weight, right? So even though it seems like, the easy way out to just, oh, whatever, I'm not talking to you about it, just really remember that turmoil you're leaving, of all the chaos and the emotional stuff you already have, being stressed and overwhelmed, you're just adding to it. And we all know we don't need to add to it, like, ever, right? So just keep that in mind and take the moment, get the clarification, take those deep breaths, white light in, bad energy out. Okay, sir, what exactly did you mean by that statement? And just try and respond, don't react. And see how all of these pull together and they all work together beautifully? You're responding, not reacting. You're getting clarity. You're not assuming. You're not creating stories. You're not having that, oh, this person's just stupid, they don't know what they're talking about. No. You don't know that. I mean, could be. We don't know. But until you know, don't assume. So yeah, all these different things, they all pull together, they all work together, they're all part of the package. So I hope this makes sense, guys. I hope this was eye-opening for you. Like I said, it's, I don't know, potentially saved my relationship, maybe. Who knows? Don't know how patient my boyfriend truly is. But I do know this in my past with other clients. This simple little trick has saved relationships because instead of just being angry, 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 angry till the point of I can't do this anymore, you get clarity, you gain understanding, and you can actually have a beautiful relationship again if you just have communication. If you've ever gone I haven't been to a relationship therapist myself, but I have lots of clients that have. And we all know they all say the same thing: communication is key. And a relationship, you have relationships with coworkers, employees, employers, like I said, people. This goes for all people everywhere, right? And just think again, how much more pleasant and wonderful your life will be without all the 90% of arguments. So, all right, guys, as usual, it is Thursday, which means it's practically Friday, which means happy weekend. I hope everyone has a very wonderful weekend. I don't know if you guys are already putting your Christmas stuff up. We just got out of with all those hurricanes busting around the Caribbean, we have been raining for a month and a half, 2 months maybe. It's been a minute. And so, as you can see, with the beautiful sunshine coming in, lighting up this side of me, we're finally sunny again. It is beautiful. So, we might actually get the Christmas lights put up just to get them put up while it's beautiful out. You know how that goes, all my lovely Canadian family up there. You know, when it is nice out, you get those roof lights up before the storms come. That is a must do. I did that 1 year. 1 year we're out there because the boyfriend, nothing Christmas till December 1st. This used to be his rule. So December 1st, we're outside. We have to do it after work, of course, because it was like Monday or something, right? You're not going to wait till the weekend. I'm not going to wait till the weekend. And it was like dark out. It was like minus 26, I believe. It was snow everywhere. It was god awful. I came inside, the grumpiest bear ever. Like, I didn't talk to him. And I was like, nope. I turned the fireplace on and I was like, leave me alone. And I was like, never again. And then that went in the rule of anytime after Halloween, obviously we don't turn them on. Especially, I'm one of those, I always wait till after Remembrance Day to do anything Christmassy. That's just my personal rule. You do you. But I'm getting those roof lights up while it's nice out, preferably when there's no snow. Roof lights go up, period. So, yeah, even though we obviously do not get snow in Mexico, we do get a heck of a lot of rain, and we can get some very, very blustery days. And that's another thing. You don't really want to be up on a roof hanging lights on this big old roofing ladder if it's 30, 40 kilometer an hour winds potentially. It's just, why bother if you don't have to? So I think we might do that definitely this weekend if it's going to be nice out. So I hope you guys have a beautiful, wonderful weekend. I am, PS, I will talk more about this next week, I think, but I'm currently reading The Having. Oh, I can't remember who it's by. It's a book. You could just Google. It's got a red cover, The Having. And I am barely into it. And it's already eye-opening and it is amazing. And it was basically opening up yourself to receiving wealth. That's what it's about. It's an easy read. My boyfriend loved it. And I will tell you guys, my boyfriend read that book. And all of a sudden, he started obviously implementing it, practicing having, it's called. And he gets a free glass of wine. He gets a free pizza. He got a free upgrade to first class on his next flight. Like, this boy is getting all the free stuff. So I'm like, hey, yeah, give me that book. I need that book. I need to, because you can have things like this explained to you. And I have had the having explained to me before, but it's different when you read it. So I'm all of 15 pages in and it's great already. So I will recommend that, guys. Even if you're not a reader, That's a good one. You should order it. You can get on Amazon, Indigo, all the places.